So, I want to preface by saying I don't want to say any of what I'm going to say to discredit what this U.S. men's team did to get to the point where they did last night in that game against Belgium. There were a lot of impressive things that I saw, a lot of things that I liked, a lot of heart and fight that I liked in those first, what was it, 4 games up until this point. And I don't want to discredit that. I don't want people to think that that is not something to be applauded, even getting to the round of 16. Um, with that being said, I think the performance we saw last night was quite possibly one of the worst, most pitiful, and shameful sporting showings and outings that I've ever witnessed. And I'm a big fan of pretty much every sport. Well, at least I'll watch any sport, and I'm pretty well versed in those things in those areas, depending on what the sport is, mainly football, basketball, and soccer. And that was just pitiful on such a huge stage in front of that crowd in Seattle, the entire world watching. There's no one else watching. There are no other games, and you put up that type of performance. I'm even embarrassed that I went to a watch party. I was so excited for that game, and it was not fun to watch. Other than that free kick by Tillman, which did graze a defender's head and went in, so it was kind of a lucky shot. And it was fun cheering with the fans, throwing your drinks in the air, and it was tied up, and you're like, kind of felt like you had a chance there, but we didn't. We didn't. It was pretty much over before the game started, and I think there's a lot of different reasons for that. And I'm sure some people will point to more political reasons for that, and maybe that. But I definitely think that all of that drama surrounding that definitely could have played a part in aspects of that game. I do think that Belgium overall is a better team. They've obviously been a little more accomplished than we have. They beat us before. They're a good team. They run deep, whereas I think our team proved that we do not run that deep. And yeah, so those are a couple reasons, possible reasons. Um, but again, that doesn't negate the fact that they showed up with no heart, no fight. It just seemed like they really didn't care. And that's really hard to see and hard to watch as a fan, especially with the build up to that game and all of the beliefs surrounding this team. And I will say I bought into a little bit of the hype. I'm like, why not us? And I guess they proved exactly why not. Um, and so, yeah, I'm just really disappointed. I'm really not heartbroken because it was only a few weeks, and again, I wasn't watching any of the friendlies really or any of the cups or anything, and I'm definitely going to tune in a lot more now because this is something I really want to tap into and become more knowledgeable on, especially on the sport of soccer here in America because it's not as prevalent, and I kind of want to be one of those voices that advocates for the sport because it is very fun to watch and very fun to cheer for. It has great high moments, really low moments like we witnessed last night. And that's the part of sports that makes it so fun and how it brings people together and gives people something to root for. And I think that hurts even more now because this U.S. team had the support of the country, at least most of it, and that means something when it's on a country level like the World Cup is. And so it hurts knowing that they went out like that. They went out sad, and a lot of those guys won't even be there in 4 years, so that sucks too. And yeah, and it's having to wait 4 years for this opportunity again. It hurts. It's not fun. But yeah, I'm just kind of spitting from the top of my head here because I don't have a script. This is something that I'm new to, just sitting here talking about sports. And right now, I want to talk about the World Cup because that man, I was to be honest, I had a hard time sleeping last night because I was so upset about the game. I got so invested. Um, I was very close to spending money on some merch. I don't think I will be doing that now. So I'm gonna have to wait until 4 years from now, or the build up to the next World Cup in Spain and Portugal, and I forgot the other country that'll be hosting. But yeah, now we have to wait for that, and it just hurts. It's no fun. I'm sure I speak for a lot of fans and a lot of people that got invested more recently. And for a lot of people that have been watching, this is probably that have been watching the U.S. men's team for a while. This is probably something you're used to, and I completely understand that. I think I think soccer is not taken seriously in the United States because of sports like football, baseball, even sorry, I'm blanking, basketball. Those are the big three, and you might even be able to argue that hockey is more important in this country. And so when those sports are dominating the player base and the fan bases around the country, it's really hard for something like soccer to sneak in there. But I think we saw a glimpse of what it could be, and that means something. And I hope for the younger generation's sake that they watch those games and that inspires them to do better and to hopefully one day lead this country to the promised land and winning the World Cup. I think it can happen, but I think it's going to take a lot of structural changes with how we go about raising youth in the programs and the pay gap that is involved in all of that is something to talk about as well. But again, I don't even know where I started all of this by just just being disappointed and sad that our country was represented that way. And I really hope that we can build on that and do better as a country and even as a fan base. I pray that these fans are back 4 years from now at the watch parties, representing the team, standing up for the team, believing in the team, because that is what sports is all about. And I know there's some very harsh reactions after your team loses, and I know there's a lot of people like, "Oh, I'm never watching this again," blah blah blah. And I understand that as a sports fan. I know the feeling. I just hope that in 4 years people will come back and we will be in the same position, hopefully a better position, and hopefully we'll get further. That's the goal: is improvement. We want to get better, grow, and advance further, and one day win the whole thing. I think that can happen. There is always going to be light at the end of the tunnel for me. I'm a believer in my teams, and U.S. men's team, you have my support, but that was very disappointing, and I just don't want to see that again. That was very hard to watch, and I did not expect to lose sleep last night over that game, but I did, and I really don't want to feel that way again. I think it would have been one thing for them to go out with heart and fight like Mexico did against England, and they didn't. Yet at home, home turf, home field advantage, and you get blown out, outclassed like that. I know I'm speaking from an emotional standpoint, not really like breaking down the game analytically and all of that, which that's another thing to talk about, how the back line of Ream and Richards and Freeze as a goalkeeper just completely kind of sold that game. And Dest was awful as well. Pulisic, it might be time to put him on fraud alert. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of different avenues to go down, and again, I'm just kind of spitballing. I'm just talking. I really am not like this savant on the game. I'm just coming from more of a fan perspective, as I'm sure a lot of people are. And yeah, I'm not expecting anybody to see this or really care, but um, yeah, these are just kind of my thoughts and somewhat of a rant on the game. Very disappointing, very sad. I did watch the Argentina game against Egypt, and that just, again, to me, just showed that there's levels to this, and U.S. is not anywhere near the level of an Argentina, Spain, France, England, those top dogs. Not even close. And so even if we had beaten Belgium, we probably would have gotten waxed by Spain, and that's okay. I mean, I would have rather gotten to that top 8 mark and gotten beaten by a team like Spain because they are very good, like really good. I just don't think Belgium was that much better than us. And that's what makes it even more disappointing and makes us seem more like frauds in the eyes of the world. And I'm patriotic. I don't like that. I don't want that. I want to see more, and hopefully we will see more in years to come. But I'm going to continue to cheer them on and continue to watch more soccer. And got the Olympics coming up, and some other things, some other smaller tournaments and friendlies and whatnot. So we'll be staying tuned in for those. But this is really all I got. Just me sitting in my car talking about sports. But if anybody sees this, I appreciate it. And yeah, have a great day, great night, wherever you're from.